Shabbat Shalom, family. Glory and honor to our Father, Yahweh, the creator of heaven and earth, the sea and all that in them is, the creator of the firmament and the waters above and below the firmament, and the Father of Messiah, YHWH, who is the express image of the Father's person, who is the high priest, the prophet of all prophets, and the soon returning king of planet Earth, as well as the one in whom the Father gives us his righteousness. Glory and honor to Father Yahweh. Glory and honor to Messiah, our righteousness, Messiah Yahweh. Greetings to the 12 tribes scattered into the four corners of the earth through slavery, according to the word of the Father, who are now awakening in the lands of the nations where they have been scattered, and remembering who they are, where they fell from, and returning to Father Yah. Greetings. And to the 144,000 who are among the bloodline, who are the forerunners of the return of Messiah and the establishment of the Messianic kingdom. Greetings. Greetings to the precious souls among the children of Shem, Ham, and Yafet, who are not of the bloodline, but are through the blood of Messiah, having entered into the kingdom of Israel. Greetings. Greetings to the chat. Isha Shama, Superstar, Sister Azariah by Israel, Brother Gary Joseph, Yafi, Sister Hebrew is Rhonda, Ikaya, Francis, Diamond Holdings, Brandon Beckman and family, Naviska 23 and family, Only One Way, Castle King Well, Nasia Wade, Sister Wade and family. Greetings to all of you. Before we get started, I want to make a quick announcement. I talked to the resort people today. And so, brethren, we got to have our funds in on April 1st. Got to have our funds in on April 1st. Please contact me. I have a list of people that said they wanted to go, but I've gotten some funds from a few people, but not from many. So I need to hear from those that want to go so that we can have the rooms reserved that they wanted us, that they're reserving for us, so that we can have everything together. So if you still want to go to the Memorial Day weekend 2024, please let me know and then follow up with what you got to do. Okay, we could talk if there's some issues, but please let me know. All right. So we're studying Matthew today. Now, as you saw from the title, Matthew, along with all the other gospels, but Matthew we're studying now. We're starting studying Matthew. Matthew starts off his gospel stressing the Hebrew lineage of the Messiah. Okay, he starts off stressing the Hebrew lineage of the Messiah. Now, let's look as far as that. Let's take a look at the book of the law in Deuteronomy. And of course, as you know, we're going to be getting witnesses from all over the Bible for Matthew, right? It's like we do all the time. Praise the Most High. And it's going to be no different now. So we're going to start off in the book of the law, Adabarim, in Deuteronomy. And we're going to start off in Deuteronomy chapter 4. And you'll see why we're starting off with this as we read chapter 4. So first, I'm going to start Deuteronomy chapter 4. And let's see. I'm going to read from I'm going to start off from verse 1 down to verse 6. Deuteronomy chapter 4, from verse 1 to verse 6. Now therefore hearken, O Israel, or Yashar'ah, unto the statutes and unto the judgments which I teach you, for to do them, that ye may live and go in and possess the land which Yahweh Most High of your fathers giveth you. Ye shall not add unto the word which I command you, neither shall ye diminish aught from it, that ye may keep the commandments of Yahweh your Most High, which I command you. Your eyes have seen what Yahweh did because of Baal Peor, For all the men that follow Baal Peor, Yahweh, your Most High, hath destroyed them from among you. But ye did cleave unto Yahweh, your Most High. Ye that did cleave, unto Yahweh, your Most High, are alive, every one of you, this day. Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as Yahweh, my Most High, commanded me, that ye should do so in the land whither ye go to possess it. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. Now, first off, when it says this is, it said here in verse 6, this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations. When the Bible talks about nations, who are they talking about? Talk to me now. So the first question tonight, when he mentions here, this is your understanding in the sight of the nations. So the nations are going to see you. That's right. So let's read it again. That's right. Ruel said it right. I mean, not Ruel. Superstar said it right. Brother Gary Joseph said it right. So let's take a look. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. For what nation is there so great, who hath the Most High so nigh unto them, as Yahweh your Most High is in all things that we call upon him for? So the Gentiles were supposed to see the statutes and judgments of the Israelites. That's right. The Israelites were to be witnesses to the Gentiles, and they were to be witnesses to the word of the Father, which we saw earlier in this chapter when it said, ye shall not add unto the word which I command you, neither shall ye diminish aught from it, that ye may keep the commandments of Yahweh, your Most High, which I command you, which we obviously know this. If we add or take away from the word, we don't have the Father's word no more. We got something else. Okay? So if we add or take away from the Father's word, we don't have his word anymore. We have something else. Okay? Y'all understand it? So now, if the object of the Father was for the Israelite nation to be his witnesses to the Gentiles, here's an important question. If it was the object, as we see right here in Deuteronomy chapter 4, if it was the object of the Father that his Israelite people should be witnesses to the Gentiles, does that ever change? Would he ever change that? Would he do away with that? Would he change it? Would he change his mind and say, this is not working, I'm going to try another way? No, he would not. No, he would not. Okay? So, if somehow the Gentiles change the Messiah into something after their own image, and they create a religion around it that's different than what we just read, is that of the Father? Is that of the Father? If they change the religion, change the appearance, change Messiah, and now it's a religion based on Gentiles, and Messiah is a European, he's a children of Yafet now, is that the word of the Father? No, it's not. Okay, and this is, again, let's stress this now. For us, when we have the Bible, it's one book. We don't say, well, the New Testament says this and the Old Testament says that. It's one book. Okay? So if that's the case, the book needs to be uniform. It cannot contradict itself anywhere. So if the object is for the Hebrews to introduce the Messiah to the Gentiles and to give the Messiah the statutes and give the Gentiles the statutes and judgments of the Messiah and of the Israelite nation given to them from the Father, then it goes to show then there should be no new religion. This, what Moses is talking here. Let me ask you a question again. In Deuteronomy chapter 4, the whole book of Deuteronomy, is this Christianity? Is this book of Deuteronomy Christianity? Is it Christianity? Is there two different? Is this book of Deuteronomy Judaism? Is it Judaism? Is that what this book of Deuteronomy is? Did the Ashkenazi Jews be witnesses to the nations? How can Gentiles without the Messiah be witnesses to the nations? Okay, so we have no new religion. So when Matthew opens up his gospel, he is stressing that this man we're talking about is a Hebrew. And one of the ways we see in both now, which we're going to see today in Matthew, which we're already seen in the Old Testament, if we are, okay, I lost my train of thought. So if we see, okay, yes, is lineage, bloodline lineage. This is stressed in the Bible. It is not the only way, obviously, because Gentiles are going to be saved. The Gentiles are going to be saved. And he said that we're witnesses to the nations, to the Gentiles. There's a reason for that. But as far as the bloodline Hebrews, lineage is important. Lineage is important. And that is a basis. That's a basis of the whole Bible, really, because the kingdom that the Bible talks about is always based in the nation of Israel. Old and New Testament, as we see in the book of Revelation, it's always based in the kingdom of Israel. The nations are invited into that kingdom through the Hebrew Messiah. And the Hebrew Messiah gives his message to his Hebrew people so that they could witness to the Gentiles. They can be witnesses of him to the Gentiles. So, and I want to look at one more thing here in Deuteronomy, and then I want to go to Isaiah, another witness. But let's look at one more thing here in Deuteronomy. Now, after Moses goes through talking to them about how they heard the voice of the Father, they didn't see him, but they heard his voice. In fact, let's look at this. I'm going to look at the same chapter 4 of Deuteronomy. And again, the stressing of it is passing this knowledge to your children and your grandchildren. Who you are, how you came to be. Okay, look, this is from verse 9 down to verse 12. Actually, from verse 9 down to verse 13. Okay, Deuteronomy chapter 4, from 9 to 13. Only take heed to thyself and keep thy soul diligently, lest thou forget the things which thine eyes have seen, and lest they depart from thy heart all the days of thy life. But teach them thy sons and thy sons' sons, especially the day that thou stoodest before Yahweh thy Most High in Horeb, when Yahweh said unto me, gather me the people together, and I will make them hear my words, that they may learn to fear me all the days that they shall live upon the earth, that they may teach their children. And ye came near and stood under the mountain, and the mountain burned with fire in the midst of heaven, with darkness, clouds, and thick darkness. And Yahweh spake unto you out of the midst of the fire. Ye heard the voice of the words, but ye saw no similitude, only ye heard a voice. And he declared unto you his covenant, which he commanded you to perform, even 10 commandments, and he wrote them upon 2 tables of stone. So the Father spoke to Israel, and it's stressed here. He didn't speak to any other people in the history of the world. He didn't speak to any other nation. Let me make it more clear. He didn't speak to any other nation in the history of the world. This is the only nation that he spoke to. And again, we know what Amos says. You only have I known of all the families of the earth. So he hasn't spoke to any other nation. Now he spoke to people, obviously, but he has not spoke to any other nation. He has not sent prophets out from any other nation. That has not changed. Okay, so now after that understanding, and again, brethren, I want to stress to us who are here now, our children, our grandchildren. Now, you don't want to force anything on anybody. You don't want to berate anybody or beat them over the head with anything. Don't do that. But when this conversation comes up, if the Father blesses you to bring the conversation around to you, to your children and your grandchildren, you must tell them the history of you. This is your history. You must tell them your history. The Bible commands it. Tell them who you are. Tell them where you come from. And in doing that, you're telling them where they come from and who they are. Malcolm X called it knowledge of self. And it's especially important for what we're about to read here. Deuteronomy chapter 4. I'm going to start at verse 24. Well, I'm going to start at verse 23. I'm going to start at verse 23, and I'm going to go down from verse 23. From verse 23, I'm going to go down to verse 27. Okay, so this is Deuteronomy 4 from verse 23 to 27. Take heed unto yourselves, lest ye forget the covenant of Yahweh your Most High, which he made with you, and make you a graven image or the likeness of anything which Yahweh thy Most High hath forbidden thee. For Yahweh thy Most High is a consuming fire, even a jealous Most High. When thou shalt beget children and children's children, and ye shall have remained long in the land, and shall corrupt yourselves, and make a graven image or the likeness of anything, and shall do evil in the sight of Yahweh thy Most High, to provoke him to anger, I call heaven and earth to witness against you this day, that ye shall soon utterly perish from off the land whereunto ye go over Jordan to possession. And ye shall not prolong your days upon it, but ye shall utterly be destroyed. And Yahweh shall scatter you among the nations, and ye shall be left few in number among the heathen, where Yahweh shall lead you. And we know, obviously, we are witnesses. This has happened to us. This is no question. We are witnesses. This has happened to us. And so now, as we're awakening, we're leaving the gods of Babylon, which we know are based in. Now, there's more than three now, but the three base ones that are the three that dominate the earth, we know Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. Okay, we see that. The three so-called Abrahamic religions. And so now, as part of our awakening, we're leaving these man-made institutions and returning to the Father as a family member of the nation, as a bloodline of the nation. Now, Isaiah chapter 66. Isaiah chapter 66. And all of this plays into the Gospel of Matthew, which we're going to see in a moment. But Isaiah chapter 66, I am going to begin, let's see. Okay, I'm going to begin at verse, let me see. I'm going to begin at verse 5, because it told us about this certain group of people that I relate to an animal called a raccoon. There's a certain group of people that I relate to a certain animal. You know how, for example, you see over my shoulder, you can see the lion. You can see the lion. That's Judah. That's the representation of the tribe of Judah and the kingdom of Judah. There's an animal that represents turncoats, people you can't trust, people like Judas, and they call them the raccoon. And short for that, they call them a shortened form of that called coons. Coons are like what Malcolm X would call the house Negro. You remember you had the field Negro and the house Negro. You should listen to that speech when you get a chance. The house Negro was the raccoon. The field Negro was Judah. Although they were both of the bloodline. Yes, man, he's starting to understand. So here in Isaiah 66, verse 5, it starts off telling us about the coons. Let's look at it. Isaiah 66, beginning at verse 5. And it's going to tell you what happens here. Hear the word of Yahweh, ye that tremble at his word. Your brethren, that is your bloodline brethren, that hated you, that cast you out for my name's sake and said, let Yahweh be glorified, but he shall appear to your joy, and they shall be ashamed. A voice of noise from the city, a voice from the temple, a voice of Yahweh that rendereth recompense to his enemies. Before she travailed, she brought forth. Before her pain came, she was delivered of a man-child. Does that sound familiar? Who hath heard such a thing? Who has seen such things? Shall the earth be made to bring forth in one day? Or shall a nation be born at once? For as soon as Zion travailed, she brought forth her children. Shall I bring to the birth and not cause to bring forth? Saith Yahweh. Shall I cause to bring forth and shut the womb? Saith thy Most High. Rejoice ye with Jerusalem and be glad with her, all ye that love her. Rejoice for joy with her, all ye that mourn for her, that ye may suck and be satisfied with the breast of her consolations, that ye may milk out and be delighted with the abundance of her glory. For thus saith Yahweh, behold, I will extend peace to her like a river, and the glory of the Gentiles like a flowing stream. Then shall ye suck, and ye shall be born upon her sides, and be dandled upon her knees. And as one whom his mother comforteth, so will I comfort you. And ye shall be comforted in Jerusalem. We know this is the new Jerusalem. Okay? And when ye see this, your heart shall rejoice, and your bones shall flourish like an herb, and the hand of Yahweh shall be known toward his servants. You know who the servants are, right? And his indignation toward his enemies. For behold, Yahweh will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury, and his rebuke with flames of fire. For by fire and by his sword will Yahweh plead with all flesh, and the slain of Yahweh shall be many. They that sanctify themselves and purify themselves in the gardens behind one tree in the midst, eating swine's flesh, these are the idolaters that worship man-made religion. An abomination in the mouth shall be consumed together, saith Yahweh, for I know their works and their thoughts. It shall come that I will gather all nations and tongues, and they shall come and see my glory. And I will set a sign among them, and I will send those that escape of them unto the nations, to Tarshish, to Pul, to Lud, that draw the bow, to Tubal, to Yavan. These are the children of Yafet, being sent messengers. Listen now. Children of Yafet being sent messengers from the Father. Okay. To the isle of Father that have not heard my fame, neither seen my glory, and they shall declare my glory among the Gentiles. And they shall bring all your brethren for an offering unto Yahweh out of all nations, upon horses and in chariots and in litters, upon mules and upon swift beasts, to my holy mountain Jerusalem, saith Yahweh, as the children of Israel bring an offering in a clean vessel in the house of Yahweh. I will also take of them for priests and for Levites, saith Yahweh, for as the new heavens and the new earth which I will make shall remain before me, saith Yahweh, so shall your seed and your name remain. And it shall come to pass that from one new moon to another, and from one Shabbat to another, shall all flesh come to worship before me, saith Yahweh. And they shall go forth and look upon the carcasses of the men that have transgressed against me. That's Ezekiel chapter 39. For their worm shall not die, neither shall their fire be quenched, and they shall be an abhorring unto all flesh. So the Gentiles are going to be coming with us after hearing our witness to the holy mountain of Yah, coming to the truth. And that process has already begun. As we are awakening, light is dawning on the earth. People don't realize it yet because it's now like a candle, but soon it's going to be a flame. So as the Father's Spirit is coming on us and we are awakening to who we are, we will be witnesses to the Hebrews and to the Gentiles. But the call in Babylon is made to the Hebrews, and with them come the Gentiles. See? So that is the order. It has never changed, and it never will change. So all of these centuries up till now, there's been darkness on the earth. That's why when you see the trumpets, you see the repeated darkness. Darkness covers the earth. The sun is darkened. The moon is darkened. Because as we are not aware of who we are because of our punishment, darkness covers the nations. When we are awakened, and that's why Paul said, if the falling away of the Hebrews gets you guys the gospel, what's going to happen when they come back? They're the natural branches. What happens when they come back to their own tree? But life from the dead. So as we are awakening, light is coming on the earth, and there's going to be, and there is a remnant of Gentiles that come to this truth, that break away from the three Abrahamic religions to come to the nation of Israel, to come to the nation of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob with the bloodline. Praise the Most High. So now Matthew is going to begin his gospel showing you the lineage, the Hebrew lineage of Messiah, to stress that this man is a Hebrew, he's from Judah, and he's representing Israel. So look, let me ask you a question. When Christians talk about the Messiah, do they say that? Do they say Messiah is a Hebrew representing Israel? Does he say that? Do they say that? Of course not. No. Therefore, they don't even know who he is. They really don't know him. They really don't know him. They don't know who he is. Okay? They don't know who he is. That's like telling a guy that's from the Dominican Republic, you ain't from Dominican Republic. You're a white dude from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. How y'all feel about that? Or telling somebody from Puerto Rico, you ain't no Boricua. You're a white dude from Seattle. Or telling a Jamaican, you ain't from no Jamaica. You from LA. So you're lying about exactly. You're lying about the origins of a person and misrepresenting where they're from. That's what happens with the Messiah. They do this in Christianity, they do it in Islam, and they do it in Judaism. Yeah, I knew y'all was going to say so. I knew y'all was going to say so. All right, so now Matthew chapter 1. Matthew chapter 1. Now we all understand what most of the earth, including Hebrews, don't understand. We're Israelites. We're from the bloodline. Most people that are of the bloodline don't even understand that. Okay? Most people even of the bloodline. And that's because they've been blinded by religion. And we've been all made to be ignorant. And again, before we are awakened and before the Father's truth in his spirit comes to us, every last one of us is deceived and blind. Every last one of us. If you come to truth and you get an understanding of truth by the Spirit of the Father, and that's how it comes, then you are coming out of darkness. That means you're coming out of being ignorant and blind, and you're coming to light. Which is why the Father has given us of his Spirit now, so that we can make call by his Spirit to other people that are ignorant and blind, like we were. Okay. And just as it came to us by the Spirit, it should come to them by the Spirit. That is why Messiah said, this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached into all nations, and then shall the end come. As we're talking about this now, the gospel is the message of the Father's righteousness from Messiah. And I think we can agree that message has not been preached to the earth. That message has not been preached to the earth, right? That message has not been preached to the earth. They've been preached Christianity, and that's not the gospel. Nor is it the Father's people or his religion. It's nothing for him, okay, as we see it in the word right now. And we compared it to Deuteronomy and that is why in Christianity, their response to what I said to y'all is, well, Deuteronomy is done away with. Am I lying to y'all? No, I'm going to tell you the truth. Their response would be, Deuteronomy is Old Testament. That's done away with. That's Old Covenant. That's done away with. That's how they respond to the word that doesn't agree with their religion. That's done away with. That's nailed to the cross. That's how they will respond. Okay. Matthew chapter 1. Matthew chapter 1, beginning at verse 1. And we're going to go through some Bible history here because this lineage, we're going to show you some things by the grace of the Father, Yah. Okay. Because all of this is very important. Okay. Well, you'll see. Okay. Matthew chapter 1, beginning at verse 1. The book of the generation of Messiah YHWH, the son of David, the son of Abraham. So he goes from Abraham. He doesn't go to Adam. Luke goes all the way to Adam, not Matthew. Matthew says this is from Abraham to David to Messiah. Right? So he's basically taking you straight to the Hebrew. The Hebrew Abraham to the Hebrew Judah king David to the Messiah, the anointed of the Father. Okay, so he's starting off just like that. That's what I'm saying. He stresses the Israelite of the Messiah. He stresses the nation. He stresses the Hebrew Israelite background of Messiah. Okay, so Abraham was a Hebrew. David was a Hebrew Israelite. Okay, wait. Here's another test question. Why do I say Abraham was not a Hebrew Israelite, but David was a Hebrew Israelite and Messiah is a Hebrew Israelite? Why was not Abraham a Hebrew Israelite? Was Abraham a Gentile? Why was not Abraham a Hebrew Israelite? That's right. Thank you, Joe Curry. All right, Joe. Welcome, Joe Curry. Yes, because of Jacob. That's exactly right. So the reason Israel or Yasharal comes into existence is because of Jacob. Now, the reason Jacob comes into existence is because of Abraham, right? So Abraham is the blessed one, the friend of the Father. Abraham is promised a son that is going to continue his lineage. That son that's going to inherit a nation is Yasha'ak or Isaac. Isaac has two sons. Jacob is his younger of the twin boys, and Jacob's name is changed by the Heavenly Father to Yashar'al. So he said, I'm going to make you a great nation. So now you have the nation of the children of Israel. So everybody that's of the nation's bloodline is not only a Hebrew, but they're an Israelite. Edom was a Hebrew, but Edom is not a Hebrew Israelite. Ishmael was a Hebrew, but Ishmael is not a Hebrew Israelite. Only the children of Jacob are Hebrew Israelites. Okay, and the Hebrew Israelite Moses was used to write the first 5 books of the Bible. And all of the books of the Bible were written through the pens of Hebrew Israelites. Now, people get confused. The English language is a translation of the Hebrew Israelite books and letters. It is not the writing of the Hebrew Israelite. It's a translation by children of Yefet into the language of Yefet that we're all enslaved to. But the words come from the Father through the Hebrew Israelite prophets. That's right, Jacob. There you go. All right, so let's continue. That was just chapter 1, verse 1. Let's keep going. Now, Matthew chapter 1, verse 2. Abraham begot Isaac, and Isaac begot Jacob, and Jacob begot Judas and his brethren. And Judas begot Pharez of Sarah and Sarah of Tamar. Now wait, who was Tamar? See, very rarely did they mention women in these lineages, but he did this time. He's going to do it a couple other times. But who was Tamar? Do y'all know? Who is Tamar? Who is Tamar? Y'all know who that is? Okay, good job, Iman Prakash. Good. Okay, then that means learning time. All right, so let's go to Genesis chapter, I believe it's 38, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just make sure. I think it's Genesis 38. I'm pretty sure it is. Let me just double check that. Yes, it's Genesis 38. Okay. Genesis 38. Now, okay. So let's see. All right. I'm going to start at verse 1 and go down to verse 11. Okay. Genesis 38 from verse 1 to 11. You ready? That's right. That's right. Let's look at it. And it came to pass at that time that Judah went down from his brethren and turned into a certain Adullamite whose name was Hirah. And Judah saw there a daughter of a certain Canaanite whose name was Shua. And he took her and went in unto her. And she conceived and bare a son. And he called his name And she conceived again and bare a son. And she called his name Onan. And she yet again conceived and bare a son, and called his name Shelah. And he was at Kezub when she bare him. And Judah took a wife for his son, whose name was Tamar. So Tamar was the wife of that is Judah's firstborn son. Okay, and look this is how they did it. I want you to know. Judah took a wife for his son. Now, today, nobody's going to do this because we've all been messed up. But at that time, the fathers arranged for the daughters and the sons to get together. So Judah took a wife for his firstborn son. Her name was Tamar. And Judah's firstborn, was wicked in the sight of Yahweh, and Yahweh slew him. And Judah said to Onan, go in unto thy brother's wife and marry her and raise up seed to thy brother. So in the Israelite economy, when a woman became a widow, a brother of her husband was going to make her his wife. She could be the second wife or whatever, but she was going to be his wife. And the children he would have with her would be in the name of his brother. So that his brother's name would not disappear from Israel. Okay, some cultures still practice this today, although it's very rare. Some African cultures still practice this today. But okay, so now, verse 9. Onan knew that the seed should not be his. And it came to pass that when he went in unto his brother's wife, that he spilled it on the ground, lest that he should give seed to his brother. His brother must have been hated. He didn't even want to give his brother no seed up for his name. So he spilled it on the ground. Wow. And the thing which he did displeased Yahweh, wherefore he slew him also. And then said Judah to Tamar, his daughter-in-law, remain a widow at thy father's house till Shelah, my son, be grown. For he said, lest peradventure he die also, as his brethren did. And Tamar went and dwelt in her father's house. So now we have to understand the culture of Israel at the time. First of all, a barren woman was an embarrassment to her. If a woman could not have children, she was looked down upon. If you recall, when Sarah could not bear children and the Egyptian woman bore a son, she mocked Sarah because it was looked down upon if you couldn't have no children. Okay, it was a negative thing, especially if you couldn't have sons. If you had sons, you was really looked up. You was blessed. You was blessed. Okay, if you could have sons. But if you could have no sons and you have no children, you was looked down upon being barren. Okay. So Hagar was making fun of Sarah because she was able to have a son, where Sarah couldn't give Abraham no children, at least at that time. Okay. And then, of course, once Sarah had her son, she told Abraham, kick that woman out of here because I don't have my son now. My son is the heir. But that's how they look at things. So now Tamar married and then Onan, and then couldn't have no children. And so Shelah was supposed to be her next husband, but Judah was afraid to give him to her because every son, she was like the Black Widow. Every son that married her died. So he was afraid to do it. Okay. Now, verse 12, 13, and 14. And in the process of time, the daughter of Shua, Judah's wife, died. And Judah was comforted and went up unto his sheep shearers to Timnath. And he and his friend Herah, the Adullamite. And it was told Tamar, saying, behold, thy father-in-law goeth up to Timnath to shear his sheep. And she put her widow's garments from off her and covered her with a veil and wrapped herself and sat in open space, which is by the way of Timnath, for she saw that Shelah was grown and she was not giving him to wife. So it was time for Shelah to marry her and try to give her some kids. And Judah's like, nah, I'm not feeling this. So she's like, okay, I'm gonna fix it myself. So she went out and disguised herself. And then now, let me just also say to y'all, the Bible tells you everything. It tells you exactly what happens, whether it's good or bad, indifferent or whatever. So just because you see people do things in the Bible doesn't mean you give license to do it. Okay, I just want to make sure you understand that. Just because the Bible says, okay, this man did this, doesn't mean you're supposed to do it. Follow the statutes and judgments and commandments given to you from the Father's word. As Brother Curry, I think Curry mentioned this earlier. He said that Deuteronomy is the basis of what we believe. Deuteronomy is the basis of what we believe. So you look at that and you get the laws and statutes and judgments. Don't just look at the mistakes of our fathers and say, oh, they made that mistake. You know, we could do it too. So David had somebody's wife. You know, I could do that too. No, don't do that. Okay. Go by the statutes, commandments, and judgments that your father Yah has taught you through his servant Moses and through his Hebrew Israelite prophets. So I say that as we get ready to read, Judah did something that is a no-no. Okay, right? Let's look. Yeah. So Genesis 38. I'm gonna start at verse 15. I'm reading from verse 15 down to verse 18. And when when Judah saw her, he saw his daughter-in-law, but he didn't know it was her. He saw Tamar. And when Judah saw her, he thought her to be a harlot because she had covered her face. And he turned unto her by the way and said, go to, I pray thee, let me come in unto thee. For he knew not that she was his daughter-in-law. And she said, what wilt thou give me that thou mayest come in unto me? And he said, I will send thee a kid from the flock. And she said, wilt thou give me a pledge till thou send it? And he said, what pledge shall I give thee? And she said, thy signet and thy bracelets and thy staff that is in thine hand. And he gave it her and came in unto her, and she conceived by him. And she arose, verse 19, and went away and laid by her the veil from her and put on the garments of her widowhood. Okay, so now Judah is looking for her to give her what he paid, what they agreed upon. She's not there. He can't find her. So she has his bracelet, his rod, his staff, and his signet. He don't know what happened to her. She's gone. Okay, now let's skip ahead. Verse 24. Genesis chapter 38, verse 24. And it came to pass about 3 months after that it was told Judah, saying, Tamar, thy daughter-in-law, hath played the harlot, and also, behold, she is with child by whoredom. And Judah said, bring her forth and let her be burnt. That's how they handled that back then. Now, I think it's best to stress that in the Israelite economy of that time, that the purity of the woman was extremely important. That a woman's purity was extremely important. Because as we have learned from reading the word, from reading Revelation, and we're going to learn also in Matthew, the woman represents the nation. She's a representation of the nation of Israel. And so if she is the harlot, the nation is the harlot. If she is pure, the nation is pure. Which is why the redemption story again of Miriam Magdalene is so important. She was a harlot. But through the righteousness of the Father given and the sacrifice of Mashiach, she was made pure again, just as Israel was a harlot. And through the Lamb, they are made pure again. The Father sent the Lamb to make us pure again. See? But in the Israelite economy, the purity of the woman is extremely, extremely important. Okay? So when one plays a harlot, what did that mean? That means she wasn't given to nobody for wife, and she had sex with a man that wasn't a husband, and she wasn't his concubine. See, even girlfriend at that time, that's what concubine is, basically a girlfriend. So even a girlfriend had an arrangement, just like today. Listen, there's very few people that are really boyfriend and girlfriend that are not exclusive. When people talk about we not exclusive, she's just playing a harlot. That's all. And he's being a whoremonger. That's it. But generally speaking, no girlfriend wants her boyfriend sleeping around, and no boyfriend definitely don't want his girlfriend sleeping around. And what do I mean? That means there's an agreement. Sometimes it's an unspoken agreement. Sometimes it's a spoken agreement. But y'all know what I'm talking about. So them saying is like, well, it's, can we see each other? Can I take you to dinner? Can I take you to lunch? Can we be an item? That's saying we are going to be boyfriend and girlfriend, and we're going to be exclusive. Now, if dude was to find out his girlfriend was sleeping with his best friend, she's played the harlot. How he gonna feel about that? Not too happy. Happens all the time in today's society. That's why y'all can relate. But see, that's what happens. Okay, so there's an exclusive agreement, whether it's written or unwritten, with the girlfriend. And if that is broken, the relationship's over. But in these days, if that is broken and she got pregnant, look what he said. Let her be burnt. Very difficult, very strong penalty for that. Okay. No woman would do that. Okay. No woman would do that. Okay. All right. Verse 25. When she was brought forth, she sent to her father-in-law, saying, by the man whose these are, am I with child? And she said, discern, I pray thee, whose are these, the signet and the bracelets and the staff? And Judah acknowledged them and said, she hath been more righteous than I, because that I gave her not to Shelah my son, and he knew her not again. And it came to pass in the time of her travail that, behold, twins were in her womb. And it came to pass when she travailed that the one put out his hand, and the midwife took and bound upon his hand a scarlet thread and said, this came out first. And it came to pass as he drew back his hand that behold, his brother came out. And she said, how hast thou broken forth? This breaches be upon thee. And therefore his name is called Pharez. And afterward came out his brother that had the scarlet thread upon his hand, and his name is called Zerah. Now, back to Matthew chapter 1 and verse 3. Matthew chapter 1 and verse 3. And Judas begot Pharez and Zerah of Tamar. And Pharez begot Esrom, and Esrom begot Aram. So now the Messiah's lineage is from Pharez. Okay, so you got Judah, and then you got Pharez of Tamar. Does that make sense, y'all? So that's where you get verse 3. Judah begot Pharez and Zerah, that's the brother, of Tamar. And Pharez begot Esrom, and Esrom begot Aram. Because in the New Testament, it's being translated from Greek. And Greek is more of a Germanic language versus Hebrew, which is not a Germanic language. Hebrew English is coming from Hebrew versus English coming from Greek. And so that's why it's really different. It's two different languages that are being translated here. Okay. All right. And of course, the original translations were in the 15th and 16th century, or shall I say the 16th and 17th century, when English was spoken in a different way, right? And of course, if you were to look at, which I do this quite a bit, I look at the original King James that was mostly Tyndale's translation, and you will be lost. If you read that, you would think you're reading a whole, and it's the same words that we're looking at here, but they spelled completely different. Whereas a U in the original English is the va sound, and the V is the hua sound, and it continues from there. So you have it's a whole different spellings of things and the way they say things in the original. But over the years, the translation has been modernized to more of the common English that we use today. Okay. While trying to stay true, of course, to the translation. Yeah, that's important. So now you're going to see the next important step here. So now we know Tamar was a Canaanite. Judah had Pharez of Tamar. Here's a question. Is Pharez half Canaanite? Or is Pharez all Hebrew? Wait, yeah, did y'all hear that question? Is Pharez half Canaanite? Or is Pharez all Hebrew? That's right. There is no such thing as halves in the Bible. There's many Hebrews that have one parent a Hebrew and the other a Gentile. And they're never called half Gentile, ever. Let me just tell you where half came from. When the children of Yefet decided that they were white, okay, when the children of Yefet decided that they were white and had everybody, including up until today, calling them white, they were privileged class. They were the privileged class. What am I saying? You weren't going to find no bloodline Hebrew equal in any financial way or in any way in society to a white person. Anyway, they were going to be treated differently in law, in government, in financial blessings. They were going to be treated differently. They had privilege. Therefore, if someone were to get pregnant by or make pregnant a white person, in order to give them some cred, they would say they're half white. Oh, we're mixed, we're half white. They're trying to really say, we're really like you guys. We should be privileged too. That's really what they're trying to say. Well, brethren, let me break something down for you. In the Bible, the privilege is to the Hebrew. So therefore, if a Hebrew had a child with a Canaanite, that child was a Hebrew. with no half Hebrew. Y'all got me? So anybody that says, well, you only have Hebrew, no, ain't no such thing as half. Not in the Bible. And again, who is that? Manny brought it up. So in chapter 15 of the book of Acts, you see the Hebrews get together and try to deal with how to treat the Gentiles. And they tell the Gentiles, you don't need to be circumcised. That's chapter 15 of the book of Acts. But the beginning, in the first 5 verses of chapter 16, Paul takes Timothy and circumcises him. And he said it's because his mother was a Hebrew and his father was a Greek, and he wanted to be able to take him into the temple. Only Hebrews by blood, Yashar Israelites, could go into the temple. So he had to make Timothy say, who are you? I'm a Hebrew. And he circumcised him. And then he could bring him in the temple. Okay, so it wasn't, he was half and half, he was all, but he had to show to his brethren by being circumcised, I am a Hebrew. Okay. Yes, Joe Curry, you are supposed to be circumcised as a baby, but as we know, Abraham was circumcised at, how old was he? How old was Abraham? Abraham was like 86 years old when he was circumcised. So yes, you're supposed to be circumcised as a baby, but it's not always the case. So, Abraham was 86 when he was circumcised. And then, of course, before the children of Israel went into the promised land, there were grown men that had never been circumcised among the congregation. And so if you remember, when they got to the borders of Jordan, they stopped and they circumcised all the males that had not been circumcised all the years they were in the wilderness. So yeah, you're supposed to be circumcised by the 8th day, but not everybody is. So Timothy was not, obviously. So but he was circumcised. Okay. Usually it's a situation like that. Either you didn't know, you weren't taught, there was some sort of apostasy, and then you're coming back and now you are understanding the covenant of circumcision as a Hebrew and you're being circumcised. Okay. Just like Abraham, it was the sign of the covenant. Yeah, he had 86 he was, and his son was 14. Yes, that's right. All right. Matthew. So now let's keep going. So Matthew chapter 4 and 5. Aram begot Aminadab, and Aminadab begot Naasson, and Naasson begot Salmon, and Salmon, verse 5, begot Boaz of Rahab. Who was Rahab? I shouldn't have to go back and read this. I could just tell you this, but who was Rahab? Who was Rahab? Y'all know who Rahab was? Listen here. It say Salmon begot Boaz of Rahab. Who's Rahab? Boaz's mother. Who is she? Y'all don't know? Y'all know? Tell me. All right, let's look at it. First of all, let's go to Joshua. Joshua chapter 2. Joshua chapter 2. Okay, Joshua chapter 2, going to begin at verse 1. Joshua chapter 2, from verse 1. And I'm going to read down to verse 10. Joshua chapter 2, verse 1 to 10 tells you who Rahab was. That's right. They spell it differently. That's why our brother Superstar asked, why do they spell it? Because it will throw you off if you don't recognize that they're spelling it from the Greek instead of the Hebrew. But notice what it says, and Joshua the son of Nun sent out of Shittim 2 men to spy secretly, saying, go view the land, even Jericho. And they went and came into a harlot's house named Rahab and lodged there. So Rahab was a harlot, a Canaanite harlot. And it was told the king of Jericho, saying, behold, there came men in hither tonight of the children of Israel to search out the country. And the king of Jericho sent unto Rahab, saying, bring forth the men that are come to thee, which are entered into thine house. for they be come to search out all the country. And the woman took the two men and hid them and said thus, there came men unto me, but I wist not whence they were. And it came to pass about the time of the shutting of the gate, when it was dark, that the men went out. Whether the men went out, I would not. Pursue after them quickly, for ye shall overtake them. But she had brought them up to the roof of the house and hid them with the stalks of flax, which she had laid in order upon the roof. And the men pursued after them the way to Jordan unto the fords. And as soon as they which pursued after them were gone out, they shut the gate. And before they were laid down, she came up unto them upon the roof and said unto the men, I know that Yahweh hath given you the land, and that your terror is falling upon us, that all the inhabitants of the land faint because of you. For we have heard how Yahweh dried up the water of the Red Sea for you when you came out of Egypt, and what he did to the two kings of the Amorites, which were on the other side of Jordan, Sihon and Og, whom ye utterly destroyed. So she's bearing witness that these people come from the only true God. Wait a minute. Let's read from verse 11. Let me see. I'm going to read from verse 11 down to verse 15. As soon as we had heard these things, our hearts did melt. Neither did there remain any more courage in any man because of you. For Yahweh, your most high, he is the most high in heaven above and in the earth beneath. Now, therefore, I pray you, swear unto me by Yahweh, since I have showed you kindness, that ye will also show kindness unto my father's house and give me a true token, that ye will save alive my father and my mother and my brethren and my sisters and all that they have, and deliver our lives from death. And the men answered her, our life for yours, if ye utter not this our business. And it shall be that when Yahweh have given us the land, that ye will deal kindly and truly with thee. And then she let them down by a cord through the window, for her house was upon the town wall, and she dwelt upon the wall. So Rahab was a harlot that helped the Israelites and asked for them to spare her and her family from the destruction she knew was coming. And she expressed faith in their God, and they rewarded her and brought her into the camp. And back to Matthew chapter 1, and she married a man named Salmon, and they had a son. And so now they had a son, which was in the lineage of the Messiah, named Boaz. Boaz begot Obed of Ruth. Now, I shouldn't have to tell you this one. Who was Ruth? So a Canaanite woman bore Salmon a son named Boaz, who was a Hebrew Israelite. Boaz had a son named Obed, who was a Hebrew Israelite, from a woman named Ruth. Who's Ruth? Ruth was a Moabite woman that came and was the second. Boaz was the second husband to raise up seed to her husband that was an Israelite that died. And so Boaz married Ruth, and they had a son named Obed, a Hebrew Israelite. Obed, let's keep reading. Salmon, verse 5. Salmon begot Boaz of Rahab, and Boaz begot Obed of Ruth, and Obed begot Jesse, and Jesse begot David. There you go. So the lineage of the Messiah includes a Canaanite harlot, a Canaanite woman that actually, was acting like she was a harlot, but she was just fooling her father-in-law, and a Moabite. And yet nobody's ever going to say Messiah is half Moabite or Messiah is half Canaanite. Messiah is full Hebrew, because it's the Hebrew seed that's the blessed seed. Okay? The Hebrew seed is the most important. It's the blessed seed. Y'all got me? So Messiah has these people in his lineage, and the Father is showing us it's because of the Hebrew seed that this becomes important. Okay? It's the Hebrew seed that makes this, kosher. It's the Hebrew seed that makes this kosher. Okay? All right. So now let's continue. So now it gets to David, right? Verse 6 now. And Jesse begot David the king. And David the king begot Solomon of her that had been the wife of Uriah. Wait a second. Who was the woman that was the wife of Uriah the Hittite that David had Solomon with? What was her name? What was the name of the woman that David had sex with that caused him to have Solomon, who became king of Israel? Bathsheba. Bathsheba. Now, here's one for you Bible scholars. What does the name Bathsheba mean? And I'm going to tell you what it doesn't mean. Bath-el, that means house of Yah. It's not a house. What does Bathsheba mean? Bathsheba, the wife of Uriah, who David had a baby with named Solomon. Bathsheba. Go ahead and look it up. Look up Bath, B-A-T-H. Look up Bath. No. Look it up. You got a phone. You got a phone that you can phone a friend. You got a phone you can pull down. You can put this app on your phone. Put the app of, what's the name of the thing? Put the app of the, what's it called? Hang on. Put this app on your phone, man. Let me tell you. Let me help you out. Put this app. Strong's Concordance of the Bible. You could get that app off your Google playlist. Google Play. Go to Google Play, put Strong's Concordance, download that app for free. Bath means daughter. Bath means daughter. Yes. Daughter of the oath. But wait a minute. Can we also say daughter of Sheba? Can we also say daughter of Sheba? Can we say daughter of Sheba? Hey, wait. Sheba. You know, where does Sheba come from? Sheba. The queen of Sheba came to see Solomon. Where does Sheba come from? Daughter of Sheba. Daughter of Sheba. Sheba from Cush. Sheba is the lineage, Dedan and Sheba, the lineage of Cush. And you had the daughter, you had the queen of Sheba come. Right? Bathsheba. That's right. So what does that tell us about? At least we know something about Bathsheba, aside from she was so beautiful that when she went to go take a shower outside like they did in them days, David could not contain himself. Yep. That's right. She was melanated, probably heavily melanated. Where she come from, she probably heavily melanated. That's right. Heavily melanated. Bathsheba. That's right. Bathsheba is from two words. It's H1323 and H7651. Daughter of the oath. Bathsheba. That's right. There you go. Bathsheba. So we have the daughter of the oath. That was Bathsheba. That was the mother of Solomon. So let me ask you then, was Solomon half Cushite or was he all Hebrew? Was Solomon half Hamite or was he all Hebrew? Was Solomon half Hamite or was he all Hebrew? That's right. That's right. So he was all Hebrew. So now you got Canaanites and Cushites, and you got Moabites, all in the lineage of the Hebrew Israelites. Praise the Most High, because the seed is of the Hebrew. The chosen seed decides that you're a Hebrew. Chosen seed, okay, decides that you're a Hebrew. Okay, let's get back to Matthew chapter 1. Matthew chapter 1. That's right. They do say that, Brother Francis. They do. They do. They, in fact, they. I used to be in D.C. They walk all over. You see them walking all over D.C. with a shirt on that says Ethiopia with a crown with like a cross through it. Yeah. Yep. Yep. So I wouldn't know, Joe Curry. I've heard the same thing, and they did go east, and I don't know, which one they are. I really don't. And I'd only be guessing. Okay. But to me, it's pretty obvious. One group of people that I know, the Filipinos, are definitely got Hebrew in them. There's no doubt. All you got to do is look at them. They got Hebrew in them. And they got a group, a whole island of Filipinos called Negros. Negros. Yeah. So anyway, on back to Matthew chapter 1. Matthew chapter 1. Let's go to verse 7. Yeah, verse 7. Solomon begot Rehoboam. Rehoboam begot Abia. Abia begot Asha. Asha begot YHWH. YHWH begot Joram. Joram begot Ozias. Ozias begot Jotham. Jotham begot Akaz. I'm going through this more quickly now, as you can notice. Akaz begot Ezekias. Manassas and begot Ezekias begot Manassas. Manassas begot Ammon. Ammon begot Josiah, so that's Josiah, Yahweh begot Jeconiah and his brethren about the time they were carried away to Babylon. So you got David, then you got from David to the carrying away of Babylon. Okay. Then verse 12. And after they were brought to Babylon, Jeconiah begot Salathiel, and Salathiel begot Zerubbabel, and Zerubbabel begot Abiud, and Abiud begot Eliakim, and Eliakim begot Asher, and Asher begot Shaddach, and Shaddach begot Akim, and Akim begot Aliud, and Aliud begot Eleazar, and Eleazar begot Matan, and Matan begot Jacob, and Jacob begot Joseph, the husband of Miriam, of whom was born Messiah Yahushua, who was called Messiah. Verse 17. We'll stop at verse 17. Tomorrow we'll pick up at verse 18. But here, so all the generations from Abraham to David are 14 generations. And from David to the carrying away of Babylon are 14 generations. And from the carrying away of Babylon unto Messiah are 14 generations. How many generations is that total? That would be 14 times 3, right? 14 generations from Abraham to David. 14 generations from David to Babylon. 14 generations from Babylon to Messiah. That would be 3 times 14, which adds up to 42. 42. 42 is the number. So 42, which interestingly enough is 42. The times we've seen the number 42 have been to do with the 3.5 years, 3.5 year periods. But this is not a year period. This is a generational period. So yeah, 3.5 year periods, 3.5 years is 42 months. Is 1,260 days. Yeah. Castle King, just don't worry about it. So the number is 42. All right, 42. Praise the Most High. So we'll stop there. So you can see the lineage is a Hebrew lineage, even though there are other nations in the mixture of the Hebrew. We don't call them by the other nations. They're all Hebrews. Okay, they're all Hebrews. So Messiah is the Hebrew of the tribe of Judah. Abraham to David to Messiah. Yeah, that's right. So tomorrow we'll start off with the birth of Messiah, which is another whole thing. We'll start off with that in chapter 1 of Matthew, verse 18. Okay, we'll start off with that tomorrow morning by the grace of the Father. Yeah. Thank you all for bearing with us as we went through all of this monotony, but we had to go through it so that we can have an understanding of who we are. Right? This actually helps us understand who we are. Yes, we come through slavery. Yes, we were raped by the children of Yafet in all ways possible, but we're still Hebrews. Praise the Most High. May the Most High bless you and keep you. May he cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May he lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Shalom, family.